The voice crackled through static. Tonight's story comes from a man who worked the graveyard shift at a small-town gas station in Kentucky. He sent this in a year before he disappeared. A soft hiss followed. Then a new voice, shaky, tired, real. "I don't know what's out there after midnight," he began, "but it watches. You can almost hear him breathe." The background hums with fluorescent lights, faint country music, and something else, a sound that doesn't belong. The man coughs, nervous, and keeps talking. "I work the pumps off Highway 29. No traffic after 1 a.m., no customers till dawn, just me and the cameras. But one night, one of them moved. The static deepens. Something taps near his mic. I thought it was a glitch," he whispers. Then the door chime went off. No one came in. And on the monitor, I saw myself, standing outside. A silence follows, heavy, deliberate, then a faint, distorted noise. A second voice whispering the same line. I saw myself. The recording cuts. The host's voice returns, lower now. Authorities never found the man or the station footage. What you heard was the final minute of his message. A long pause. Up next, the host murmurs. Another night worker who saw something she shouldn't have. Inside the morgue. The morgue smells like metal and bleach, even when it's clean. Most people notice the cold first, but not Mara. She notices the quiet. The kind that feels thick, like it's pressing down on her chest, waiting to see if she'll make a sound. She's been the night attendant at West Hollow County Medical for 6 months. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., 4 nights a week. It's honest work, steady pay, and mostly uneventful, except for the fact that no one else wants the shift. She doesn't mind. Not really. It's better than dealing with the living. The clock clicks past midnight. Somewhere down the hall, an old freezer compressor groans like a dying animal before falling silent again. Mara pauses mid-step, listening. Nothing. Just the buzz of the overhead lights and the low hum of the cold room. She checks her clipboard. 3 bodies tonight. 2 were transfers from the highway crash, 1 tagged hold for ID. The tag is wet, smeared, barely legible. She frowns. They could at least write like they're sober, she mutters under her breath. Her voice sounds strange in the room, like it's been caught and thrown back a second too late. Mara wheels the gurney toward the drawers. The metal tray shrieks slightly as she pulls it open. She winces at the sound and laughs under her breath, nervous. "I scare easy, huh? Great job choice, Mara." The sheet crinkles as she tucks it in. The faintest impression of a face shows through the linen. Nose, lips, eyelids half closed. For a second, she swears the mouth twitches. Just a trick of the light. She's seen worse. Still, she steps back. She's halfway to the desk when she hears it. A sound that doesn't belong. Tap. It comes again, soft, deliberate, like a fingernail against glass. Mara turns toward the observation window. Beyond it, the hallway lights flicker. The sound stops. She exhales, shakes her head. "Loose vent cover again," she says, though her voice isn't convincing even to herself. She jots a note on the clipboard, but her hand is trembling just enough for the pen to squeal on the page. Tap. This time it's behind her. She spins. Nothing moves. The drawers are still. The lights buzz steady. Only the temperature has changed. Colder, sharper, like the room's holding its breath. Her radio crackles to life, a burst of static. Then a voice. "You left it open." She freezes. The voice is male, low, distant, but coming through her earpiece. "Who is this?" she whispers. "Security?" No answer. Just static. She pulls the radio off her belt and stares at it. The green light glows steady. Channel 4, the line for maintenance and night security. She clicks the side button. This is Mara in the morgue. "Who said that?" Silence. She listens hard. Behind the static, something faint, like breathing. She sets the radio down slowly, eyes darting toward the drawers. The middle one. The one marked hold for ID, it's open by an inch. Mara's first thought is that she never closed it properly. The second, colder thought, is that she did. She remembers the shriek of metal sliding shut. The paper tag flutters slightly, though there's no draft. She steps closer, every footstep echoing too loud. The closer she gets, the heavier the silence feels, pressing into her ears. Her reflection in the steel drawer wavers, her face pale and distorted. She reaches out. The metal feels icy even through her gloves. She takes a slow breath and pushes the drawer closed. The moment it latches, the radio hisses again. "You left it open," the voice repeats. Only this time it isn't coming from the speaker. It's right behind her. Mara spins, the radio clattering to the floor. Nothing there. The lights flicker once. The hum deepens into a low, vibrating tone, and for the briefest moment, just before the power snaps back, she sees it. A figure in the reflection of the observation window. Standing where she stood a second ago, not her. It's wearing her coat, her badge, her expression, but it isn't breathing. Then the lights steady again. The reflection is empty. The drawer is closed. The room is quiet. Mara picks up the radio with shaking hands and backs toward the door. Her voice is barely a whisper. "I'm not staying here alone tonight." The security channel clicks open with faint static, then a calm male voice. "You're not alone, Mara." She drops the radio. The light on it blinks twice and goes dead. The next morning, Mara called in sick. She didn't even make up a reason, just said she wasn't coming. She slept until noon, woke with her phone in her hand and a headache so deep it pulsed behind her eyes. Her dreams had been gray, half-lit, filled with whispers through vents and the sound of drawers sliding open. When she finally got up, there was a message waiting from security. "West Hollow County medical callback urgent. Camera malfunction." Her thumb hovered over the screen. She didn't call back. By the second night, she'd almost convinced herself she imagined it. The morgue did strange things to people. The hum, the cold, the way time seemed to stall. She told herself it was exhaustion, grief residue. The human brain hated silence and filled it with ghosts. So she went back. The smell of disinfectant hit her first, sharp and chemical. The hum was still there, the same low mechanical sigh. Everything looked normal, too normal, but someone had left the middle drawer open again. She stood in the doorway for nearly a minute, heart beating hard enough to shake her vision. Then she forced herself forward, fingers trembling as she reached for the clipboard. Tag 3127. Hold for ID. Cause of death. Unknown. She stared at the body under the sheet. The linen was clean, crisp. Someone had rewrapped it since she left. "Who's on shift before me?" she muttered. "You are," a voice said from behind her. Mara turned so fast she hit the gurney. Nobody there. The echo of her own breath filled the room. She looked at the observation window. For a second she thought she saw her reflection again, but the woman staring back wasn't quite her. The reflection's mouth was open, whispering something she couldn't hear. At 2:14 a.m., she left the morgue and walked the empty halls toward security. The night guard, Lewis, looked up from his monitors with his usual half-smile. "Back again, huh? Didn't think you'd last this long." She ignored him, leaning over the screens. "Do the cameras record audio?" Lewis frowned. "In the morgue?" "No, privacy laws." "Why?" Mara hesitated. "Can you pull footage from last night?" "Between midnight and 2. He sighed. "You're not the first one to ask for that." "What?" He clicked through the feeds, then turned the monitor toward her. The screen showed the morgue, clean, empty, still. The timestamp rolled, 12:01, 12:02, 12:03. Then the power flickered in the recording. When the lights came back on, the drawer in the center row was open, and someone was standing beside it. The shape was tall but indistinct, like static caught in human form. The face looked blurred, smudged, but the outline was unmistakably hers. Mara's mouth went dry. "Pause it," she said quietly. Lewis did. "You okay?" She pointed to the screen. "That's not me." Lewis leaned closer. "Funny thing," he said. "Everyone who's worked that shift's said the same damn thing." She turned to him. "What do you mean?" He rubbed his eyes, exhaled through his nose. "I've been here 7 years, nights only. You hear stories. People see themselves in the cameras, or hear their own voices on the radios. Starts with static, ends with someone quitting or..." He paused. "Disappearing." She stared. "You're joking." "Wish I was." He clicked the footage forward. At 12:04, the figure turned toward the camera and smiled. Then the video froze, glitched, and cut to black. That morning, Mara sat in her car outside the hospital until the sun came up. The parking lot was nearly empty, save for an old janitor sweeping cigarette butts into a dustpan. The world looked normal again, birds, daylight, motion. But she couldn't stop seeing that smile. By afternoon, she dug through employee records. Lewis was right. A string of attendants, all night shift workers, all gone within a year. No terminations, no resignations, just gone. Her supervisor brushed it off. Rotations, transfers, burnout. Night shifts mess with people. But when Mara pressed, he sighed. Look, I'll tell you this much, don't talk about it. We lost a security guy last winter. Claimed he saw something in the monitors. HR made us pull the tapes. They said there was nothing there. Was there? He hesitated. Then quietly, I saw it too. That night Mara didn't show up for work. But she couldn't stay away either. At 1:17 a.m., she parked in the lot across from the loading bay and watched the windows. The morgue lights flickered once, twice, then stayed dark. She crept inside through the side door. Every footstep echoed against tile. The hospital felt hollow, like an abandoned building trying to remember what it was. She found Lewis in the security office, slumped over the desk, radio humming with faint static. Lewis? She shook his shoulder. He stirred, groggy. Power cut again. Backup slow. She looked at the monitors. Blank screens, all of them. Just gray fuzz. Until one of them blinked to life. It was the morgue feed. Drawer open. Sheet half pulled aside, and on the far wall, written in condensation, were the words, "You left it open." Lewis leaned forward. That wasn't there before. Mara stepped closer. The camera glitched once more. Then another figure appeared in the frame. It looked like Lewis, standing right behind him. He turned instinctively toward the door. Nothing there. When he looked back, the camera showed only Mara, alone. The next day, local news reported a workplace accident at West Hollow Medical. A fire in the basement electrical room, no casualties, minor smoke damage. No mention of Lewis, no mention of the morgue. Mara knew better. She'd been there when the lights died, when the hum stopped. She'd seen what came out of the dark, and she wasn't the only one. 2 nights later, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. A woman's voice, hoarse, exhausted. "You work nights, don't you?" Mara froze. "Who is this?" "Name's Celia. I work the overnight shift at the nursing home out in Hollow Creek. I heard your name. I think it's following the same pattern." Mara hesitated. "Pattern?" "Everyone who's alone after midnight. Everyone who sees themselves." Static filled the line for a second. "You saw it, didn't you?" Celia whispered. Mara swallowed hard. "What is it?" There was a pause, long enough for the connection to sound dead. Then, "It's what comes after your reflection stops moving." They met at an all-night diner off the interstate. Celia looked worse than Mara, eyes hollow, voice shaking. She kept glancing at the window as if checking for something only she could see. "It started in the mirror above the nurse's station," Celia said, stirring untouched coffee. "I saw one of my residents standing behind me, but he'd died 2 hours earlier." Mara didn't speak. She didn't have to. Celia leaned in. "It's not ghosts. It's not demons. It's echoes. We work when the world sleeps, when the noise stops. Maybe that silence and it listens back." Mara frowned. "You sound like you've thought this through." Celia smiled weakly. "You would too after what I saw. What did you see?" Celia's expression changed. "Myself, but older, smiling." The diner lights flickered once. Celia froze mid-breath, eyes darting to the reflection in the window. Her reflection wasn't smiling anymore. It was mouthing something. "You left it open." The cups rattled. The overhead lights buzzed louder. Every reflection in the glass, faces of other customers, waitresses, Mara herself, flickered slightly out of sync. Mara grabbed Celia's wrist. "We have to go." But Celia's reflection didn't move. Outside, the night air felt wrong. Thick, electric, like before a storm. The parking lot lights blinked in rhythm with Mara's heartbeat. They ran to the car, but Celia stopped suddenly, staring at the diner window. Her reflection was still standing there, watching. Then it lifted its hand, slow, deliberate, and pointed straight at Mara. Celia screamed. The sound shattered glass. When Mara looked again, Celia was gone. By dawn, Mara was back at West Hollow. Something in her had snapped. Fear turned to a grim sort of resolve. She walked the empty hallways toward the morgue like someone heading home. Inside, the air felt colder than it ever had. The drawers were all closed. The hum was steady again. She walked to the center drawer, the one marked "Hold for ID." No tag this time. Just frost. Her reflection in the steel tray stared back at her and smiled. She whispered, "What do you want?" The reflection tilted its head. Then her radio crackled to life. Not static this time, but a voice she recognized. Celia's. It wants to trade places. Mara stepped back, shaking her head. "No, close the drawer," Celia's voice said. "Don't let it open." Mara lunged forward, grabbed the handle, and froze. From inside the drawer came the faintest whisper, "You left it open." Her hand slipped. The drawer slid forward an inch, and something cold touched her wrist. The hospital power cut out again. When emergency lights flickered back on, Mara was gone. The room was empty, except for a radio lying on the floor, its green light blinking steadily. A voice came through, calm, steady, familiar. "This is Mara from the night shift." "Anyone there?" Static. Then faintly, "You left it open." That same week, another report arrived at the Graveyard Shift podcast inbox. The recording began with the same low hum of fluorescent lights. A woman's voice this time, trembling, exhausted. "My name's Mara. I work nights at West Hollow Medical. If you're hearing this, don't look at your reflection after midnight." The recording arrived 2 nights after Mara vanished. No return address, no timestamp, just a single USB drive and a plain envelope marked "Play at Midnight." Lewis's replacement, a rookie guard named Tom, found it in the break room mailbox. He'd been on the job a week and already hated the night shift. But curiosity outweighed fear, as it often does before the first bad thing happens. He waited until the hospital halls went still, then pushed the drive into the computer. At first, there was only static, a soft hiss that filled the room like someone breathing close to the microphone. Then a woman's voice, low and shaking. "It's me. I don't know if this thing records in real time, but I have to try. I have to explain." Tom frowned. "Mara," he whispered. "The morgue isn't haunted," she continued. "It's thin, between here and there, between now and then. I think that's what it is. A mirror stretched too wide." The hum in the audio deepened. A metallic scrape echoed, distant but growing closer. "They don't come from outside," Mara said. "They come from us. From the parts that don't want to be alone anymore." Then a new sound. Footsteps on tile. Slow, measured, coming nearer. Earlier, Mara had woken in the morgue. No idea how she got there. The lights above buzzed in a low, endless rhythm. Her skin prickled with cold. When she sat up, she realized she'd been lying on one of the metal trays. The drawer marked "Hold for ID" stood open, empty. She slid to the floor, her reflection rippling across every surface. Table, drawer, instruments. The reflections didn't move in sync this time. "Mara," one of them whispered. The voice came from the glass of a nearby cabinet, soft, almost apologetic. She backed away. "No, no, 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 Mara," the voice repeated. "It's better here." She turned and ran. The door to the hall was gone. The walls stretched farther than they should, bending inward like the room was breathing. Every step echoed back a half-second late. Not her echo, but something following the rhythm she'd left behind. The lights flickered. For a heartbeat, the world split. 2 Maras stood in the same space, one breathing, trembling, alive. The other still calm, eyes like silvered glass. The second Mara smiled faintly. "You left it open," she said. The real Mara shook her head. "You're not me." The reflection stepped closer, movements smooth and deliberate. "You think you're the original? You think I came after you?" Mara stumbled backward, bumping into the cold tray. "Stay away. I already am you," the reflection said. "You just haven't stopped yet." The lights cut. Total darkness. Mara's breathing echoed off metal and concrete. She felt for the wall, her hands trembling. The cold air pulsed, like the building itself had a heartbeat. Something whispered behind her ear. "Close the drawer." She turned, blind in the dark. "Celia?" Silence. Then, "Lewis says hi." A hand brushed her shoulder. Mara screamed, swinging her flashlight up. But there was no beam, no light. Just the faint reflection of movement in the black. Something tall shifted closer, its outline human but wrong, angles too sharp, motions too smooth. "You left it open," the voice said again. Dozens of voices now, overlapping, whispering in unison. "You all did." She ran. Down the hallway that shouldn't have existed. Past doors that led nowhere. Each window she passed showed her own reflection. running beside her, mouth open in a silent scream. The hum deepened until it felt like pressure in her skull. The world around her blurred, walls fading, reappearing, melting into light. And then she was standing in front of the observation window. On the other side, her reflection. Calm, smiling. It spoke without moving its lips. "You can end this. Just close the drawer. What happens if I do?" she whispered. "One of us stays. One of us goes back." Mara's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She looked down, her radio blinking faint green. "Mara," Celia's voice whispered faintly. "Listen to me. Don't trade. That's what it wants." The reflection frowned slightly. "She's gone, Mara. You know that. We all end up here eventually." Mara reached toward the window. The glass rippled like water. "Choose," the reflection whispered. "Close it or stay open." Inside the reflection, the morgue appeared as it always did. Sterile, silent, manageable. On Mara's side, the air was dark and heavy, vibrating with static. She pressed her hand to the glass. The reflection mirrored her. Then the glass gave way. Cold surged through her like water. For a heartbeat, she was everywhere. In the cameras, in the walls, in every polished surface. She saw the faces of night workers from before. Guards, nurses, clerks, all staring out from reflections, whispering in perfect synchronization. You left it open. Back in the security office, Tom froze. The audio on the recording shifted to chaos. Metal clanging, drawers slamming, voices overlapping like broken transmissions. He leaned closer to the monitor. The morgue feed was live. The drawer marked "Hold for ID" was open again. He grabbed the radio. "Dispatch, this is Tom on night duty. I need someone down in the morgue now," Static replied. Then a voice, female, quiet, trembling. "On my way." He hesitated. "Who is this?" "Mara." His throat went dry. You're supposed to be..." The line cut. The morgue feed flickered. Something moved in the camera view. A figure in a hospital coat walking slowly toward the open drawer. The reflection on the metal door smiled before the real figure did. Tom ran. The hallway leading to the basement was darker than it should have been. Every light he passed flickered once and died. His footsteps echoed wrong. Too heavy, too many. When he reached the morgue door, it was ajar. Cold air rolled out, carrying the faint smell of ozone and blood. He pushed it open. The room was empty. Only one thing moved. The radio, blinking faintly on the floor beside an open drawer. "Hello?" he whispered. The overhead lights hummed. A figure stepped into view from behind the gurneys, pale, eyes unfocused. "Mara?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Close the drawer, Tom." He stared at her. We should leave. Call security." Her voice was different now, layered, like more than one person speaking at once. "Close it." He looked down. Inside the drawer, something shifted. A dark outline shaped like a person, pressed flat beneath the surface as if trapped beneath ice. The handprints on the steel looked familiar. They were his size. "Close it," Mara said again, stepping closer. Her eyes reflected the lights too brightly, catching on invisible angles. Tom stepped back. "What happens if I don't?" She tilted her head. "Then it opens wider." He turned for the door, but the hallway beyond was gone. Only black glass stretched outward, reflecting him over and over, each version slightly wrong. In one reflection, his eyes were already hollow. He whispered, "Oh God." Mara stood behind him, close enough for her breath to fog his neck. "There's no God here, Tom, just what's left open." The reflections began whispering in unison. "You left it open. You left it open. You left it open." Tom covered his ears and screamed. The lights exploded. Afterward, security found the office empty the next morning. The drawer marked "Hold for ID" was sealed shut, welded from the inside. No body listed under that number. In the corner of the room sat a computer, looping the same video. A dark room. A single reflection in polished steel. A figure smiling faintly, mouthing the words, "Close it before it closes you." The Graveyard Shift podcast aired Mara's recovered recording a week later. It was introduced the same way as the others. A calm host, a warning, then the hiss of static. Tonight's tape was sent anonymously. "We don't know if it's real, but it feels real." The hum filled the speakers. "If you're hearing this," Mara's voice said, "never work alone after midnight." "And whatever you do," static burst through, cutting her off. When it cleared, a new voice finished the sentence. "Don't look at the reflection." The host hesitated, uneasy. "That wasn't on the original file," he muttered off mic, but the sound engineer shook his head, pale. "It wasn't anywhere." Then the lights in the recording studio flickered, and on the soundproof glass between the booth and the control room, two faces stared back instead of one, both smiling. The host laughed nervously. "Okay, that's unsettling." He looked toward the glass again. Only one reflection looked back. The tape hissed again before it began to play, a man's voice this time. "Calm, too calm. This was recorded 3 nights after the morgue incident," said the host, his tone shaky now. "It was sent anonymously. The envelope had no return address, only a smudge of something that looked like ash." He swallowed audibly. "I debated airing this," he confessed, "but I think people need to hear it." Click. A low hum filled the air, the steady buzz of fluorescent bulbs. Then a man began to speak. "I took over the graveyard shift after they found that woman in the freezer. The morgue's still open, still running. Someone has to watch the bodies. That someone's me." He breathed out through his nose, a sound almost like a laugh, but without humor. "They said she went crazy, that she froze herself in the storage vault. But there's something they didn't tell you." A long pause. Paper rustled. Maybe he was holding her old logbook. "She left notes," he continued, each page marked with a time. 3:11 a.m., 3:12 a.m., 3:13. Same time, every night, written over and over again, like she was counting seconds instead of hours. He flipped a page. She wrote, "The dead are not still. They breathe in the cold." The recording trembled slightly, faint distortion creeping through the line. A thump echoed in the background, soft, like a drawer closing. "I thought it was a joke," the man whispered. Until the first one moved, he stopped. You could hear his teeth click as his jaw tensed. I was cataloging a John Doe, no ID, frost still on his eyelashes. But when I turned away to grab the form, the tag on his toe was gone. Another thump. Then a dragging sound. I found it later, by the freezer door. He let out a small breath. And it wasn't just him. Everybody that came in after midnight. They twitched. Their eyes rolled under the lids, like they were dreaming. The tape cracked. Metal scraped against metal. Then footsteps. I checked the logs. The woman before me, the one who froze herself, she wrote something at the end. Something different. More paper rustled. He read it aloud. "They don't wake until someone watches." The silence afterward was unbearable. You could hear faint breathing, but it wasn't his. The host's voice cut in, nervous. "The rest of the tape, it's hard to describe." The sound warped again. Louder static, like air being sucked from the room. Then a slam, a door shutting hard. The man's voice screamed through the distortion. Don't open the drawer!" Static swallowed it whole. Then very faintly a whisper came through. "It's her." A soft scrape followed, like nails on steel. Then without warning another voice emerged. A woman's voice. The same tone, the same rhythm, the same breath. Graveyard shift. Never ends. The tape clicked off. The host didn't speak for nearly a full minute. When he finally did, his voice had changed. Quieter, shaken. That was all there was. The morgue has since closed. Officially, it's under renovation. Unofficially, he exhaled. It's empty now, but locals say the lights still flicker after midnight. And if you stand close enough, you can hear the freezer humming. He hesitated. "Someone sent me another envelope yesterday," he admitted. Inside was a single Polaroid, taken inside that morgue. You can see the drawers open, and someone standing between them. Face blurred, wearing my jacket, his breathing quickened. "I've never been there," he said. "Never set foot in that town." He stopped recording then. At least, that's where the official episode ends. But listeners online noticed something strange. If you turn the volume up after the final silence, if you listen closely at the 48-minute mark, there's a faint click, and then, buried under static, a voice. Not the host. Not the man from the morgue. A woman's voice, whispering the same line over and over. The dead are not still. The background hum grows louder each time you replay it, and just before the file ends completely, you can hear the freezer door opening. The podcast never aired again. The channel remains online, frozen, last updated 3:13 a.m. But every so often, listeners claim that a new episode appears for a few minutes before disappearing again. No title, no thumbnail. Just the sound of breathing and a low electric buzz. Some say if you listen long enough, you'll hear your own name whispered between the static. No one's managed to record it. No one's dared to listen twice.